Pleasure. Pleasure is our internal state, and it is a very personal and individual state and process. And we are the only ones who can say how we feel pleasure, how much, and when we feel pleasure. And pleasure doesn't come when other people feel pleasure around us. It doesn't come when other people say that we should feel pleasure. And pleasure certainly does not look like the pleasure of others. It is our internal process. Now, I have Kitty with me today.
Hi.
And we want to invite women in a journey of exploring and understanding each of us our own pleasure and seeing how we relate to it. Now, the premise on which we started this invite was the fact that in our upbringing and in our families, pleasure was shamed or it was judged. And in our commercial surrounding, pleasure on this side is used as a hook to sell us things or products or services that we don't necessarily want, we don't necessarily need. So in this conflict of perspectives, where are we? So today we invite you in this journey to see what we discover within ourselves in terms of pleasure. So,
And it's a discovery for each one of us to take with themselves, obviously with our help, but ultimately it's your journey. It's something extremely intimate. It is private, emotional, exciting. It can be anything you want it to be, and I think that's the beauty of exploring yourself.
yeah. So under this video we will put the description so that you know what exactly we will do. But today I want to talk with Kitty about the atmosphere that we're building and why you may want to consider joining us.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the atmosphere.
Well, the atmosphere, I think, I've always found that when there's only groups of women, there's a different kind of relationship that's built between the participants. There's a kind of intimacy and friendship and sorority that exists there, which I find to be absolutely extraordinary. And I've been really interested and focused on this for the past 6 months since I listened to an interview about a woman who is doing women's only events for friendship. And I think it's extraordinary that we're able to put something together that is also about a subject that is so intimate, but also that can frighten people when they start thinking about it, when they really start exploring it, and especially when you don't know where to start from, because it's such a vast subject. Like, where do you even begin? So I'm extremely happy that we will be able to create a safe, calm environment where you can take everything at your own pace. Nothing is mandatory, so all of the explorations, exercises, discussions that we will be facilitating for you, you can take part in them or choose not to. You are the sole person who sets the rules for that. Obviously, we would be delighted if you participate in all the exercises, because it will give you a vast array of options which you can go home with and then further explore on your own. But yeah, I'm very excited that we managed to create such an extraordinary setting.
Yes. So let's say, because we said that this is such a vast subject, here's where I start with pleasure. Now, it's as I said at the beginning, it's a personal process, and my personal process was that of accepting a lot of unfulfilled desires, a lot of heartbreak, sadness, sorrow, and just not having the kind of experiences that I wanted to have. So I started using pleasure and self-pleasuring with a purpose. Now, this was my choice, so I put a purpose to my self-pleasuring, and that was to experience joy, laughter, and playfulness. And I would do this a lot with food. I would choose a lot of tasty foods, some of them not so healthy, like I'm gonna admit that. But then when I started working on my sexuality, I started using self-pleasuring in that way. And for instance, when I occasionally when I was with a partner and they would see me smiling in those intimate moments, they would be disturbed by this. For me, joy and laughter in self-pleasuring or in sexuality is so important. And so that's one way that I, find compatibility or not. So when I self-pleasure, whether I use toys or not, whether I do certain practices or not, I try to make it fun as much as I can. And this is how I begin. And it's always a physical thing, whether it's just touching my arms or going all the way. So it depends on my state and what I feel comfortable with trying. But it's about joy, playfulness, and fun. So this is where I start with my process.
For me, the process was one, I started with the idea that we usually, when we process pleasure or when we think of pleasure, because of the environment that we're raised in, where nobody talks about this, where there is no information that's easily accessible, and usually the information that you can find is not that good from a qualitative point of view, you usually start associating it with someone else. So you strive to be a better lover for someone else because you want to be validated in your sexual relationships in relation to this other person. So I realized at one point that I hadn't actually formed a solid, stable, and pleasureful relationship with myself. Not one that was very well thought out, because I've always self-pleasured a lot, but it wasn't a thought out process. It was just something that I did mechanically for various reasons, whether it was stress relief or anxiety, or too much time had passed since I had been with a partner, but it wasn't really about a relationship with myself. So I really went into the idea of kind of setting up dates with myself.
Yeah.
And it was about creating an intimate space with myself where I felt comfortable giving myself the attention, the love, and the high expectations that I would do with another partner. And it was very exciting. It was, and it still is very exciting. And I think it allows us also a mental space where to really consider our own beings as the central character of the pleasure story. Yeah. Not as a side note or someone who has to act in the benefit of another, but in the benefit of us.
Of us, yeah. So we're going to be the stars here.
Yes, we are absolutely going to be the stars.
Yeah. So we encourage you to check out the event details, because we put there the program and how it's structured in a way, although it's not going to be so rigid from that perspective. And feel free to bring your own toys, whatever that means. Like you can bring feathers or fur gloves or I don't know, whatever you use, and whatever you want.
Lingerie, if you want to.
Hey, you're gonna come to this as if you were on a date with yourself. So go wax or do your nails or do your hair or put makeup on.
Yeah, whatever makes you feel good about yourself.
Not so much in perfume, because it's going to be a closed space, so we're not going to do this somewhere outside. It's going to be inside, so not so much perfume because it may disturb other people. We have to be careful with that. But wear the clothes that you want. Feel like you're on a date, and on a sexy date, by the way. Yeah. And with other women who are going to be in the same process. And we want to encourage one another to have this process for ourselves and just, somehow indirectly witness the pleasure process of other women around us. And you're free to go as deep as you want and as you're comfortable into this practice, or as not so deep, like whatever you feel comfortable and okay with. So it's important that you come to this from a powerful place. And you're the one who can say that for yourself. So what I liked is that while you were talking about your pleasurable process and being centered around you, there was this bird behind you that was singing so beautifully. Yes. So she's somewhere around here.
I had totally staged that to make me the central character.
You had soundtrack.
I did. I prepared this. I talked with the bird before the video started.
Yeah. Yes. So we're going to have pleasurable music on, and from our participants, if they have a certain song that they want to hear, then sure, we'll talk to them via email and we'll include that. So feel free to, contribute to this atmosphere even with that. And Also, if you have pleasurable foods for you, you can come and share them. Yeah, share them with the group. We will also have something in that sense. And otherwise, if you feel that this is, you don't feel okay with joining us, that is totally fine. We'll have other events with Kitty, and you can, consider this participation sometime in the future when you feel more comfortable. Just remember that it's a process, it's a journey for everybody. And if you come to the event, and let's say you don't feel pleasure, because, it can happen.
Yes,
I mean, you can try, but it just doesn't happen. My take on this would be allow yourself to have, lack of pleasure also, and accept yourself as a human being also. And just, appreciate, see if you can appreciate or support the other women around you who may have the pleasure to feel pleasure in that moment.
I think it's very important for all of us to realize that because we do consider it somehow a failure on our part when we do not manage to achieve pleasure or feel it in the moment. We end up beating ourselves up because we are not the people that are joyful for others, that we're not offering the experience that is expected of us. And I think it's very important to also be very lenient and understanding towards ourselves. You don't have an obligation to feel pleasure. If you feel it, then that's great. If you don't, it's not a tragedy. There's always tomorrow. And the information that you gather during the event, you can take home and explore those things on your own as well. Without the need to have a facilitator there. And also witnessing other people can give you ideas, can give you inspiration, can give you a sense of freedom and a sense of not being alone on this journey, which I think is extremely important.
Yeah. And supporting other people when they're feeling pleasure, witnessing them and supporting them, that's a quality. That's a super quality. And being able to not feel sorry for yourself or upset, instead, feel joy for others, super quality. So, ladies, we thank you for watching us, and feel free to ask us anything that we haven't answered here. And we are looking forward to a pleasurable day together and inspiring for you in the future, hopefully. And Kitty, thank you.
Thank you very much. This is very exciting. I'm very happy that we get to do this.
Yes, I'm also happy to do this, and it's going to be fun, definitely. So see you.
Bye.